How to get her to chase in the interaction. When you're in an interaction with a girl, at one point or another, you have to get her to invest in the interaction and invest in you if you want to build attraction and make the conversation romantically charged. The ability to get the girl to invest into the interaction and into you is to use what is called qualifying and disqualifying. Qualification is something that a lot of people in pickup tend to get wrong and overcomplicate. So in this lesson, I'm going to break it down and show you examples of how to do it so you can start incorporating it into your interactions with girls, because it's a fundamental piece of building attraction and sexual chemistry between you and the girl. Now, a good example of qualifying is when you're in a conversation with a girl and she makes a comment about something or tells you something about herself. You can simply say the phrase, "Tell me about that." This is a textbook qualifier. When you ask open-ended questions like, "Tell me about that," "What's your story?" or "What's exciting in your life right now?" you're basically asking the girl to qualify herself to you or explain and justify herself to you. These open-ended questions require her to invest more into the conversation with you and invest more into you in general, because you're asking her to explain herself or an aspect about herself. You see, typically you only explain and describe yourself or what you say to people who are in a higher position or frame as you, or on the same level. Also, the more you explain and qualify yourself to a person, the more invested you are in that person and the interaction, because you're taking the time to explain something to someone that you probably wouldn't with someone you don't care that much about or have any interest in. Typically, when you ask people a qualifying question, they'll do their best to qualify themselves to you by explaining what it is you asked them in a way that makes them look better to you and the people around. And this is the first step in making her justify or make herself look good to you, which is congruent with her trying to get you to like her. Qualifying is important because it's congruent with how you act with someone you care about or has a high frame. You only qualify yourself or explain or justify yourself with people you want to like you. So by getting her to qualify to you, she's taking the first step in a series of steps that is congruent with her liking you and being attracted. Saying something to the girl like, "Hey, are you flirting with me?" is another qualifier, because you're asking her to qualify her behavior to you. And the more she responds to your qualifiers, the more invested she is, and the more she's brought into your frame. And this is important if you want to be able to lead the interaction and get her comfortable with you taking the lead. Now, an example of disqualification would be saying something like, "I only talk to blonde girls, so you better be pretty awesome to make up for it." Saying things like this will not only challenge her and force her to qualify herself to you in conversation, but it also disqualifies the fact that you're totally sold on the idea of her as a potential bang buddy, if you know what I mean. In a previous infield on my channel, my intern is in an interaction with a girl, and after she mentions she likes a certain author, he says, "Oh well, my ex liked that author too, and it didn't work out so well, which is why I'm here talking to you now." That ex joke that he made establishes context as to why he's in the interaction, basically establishing that he's there and talking to her because he was trying to see if she'd be a good partner. And this is the frame that all of your interactions should have. An easy way to do this and to disqualify is by what I like to call box checking or playfully profiling. Saying things like, "You're the worst," or quite literally saying, "Hey, you're checking off all the wrong boxes," is the perfect way to not only disqualify and get her to chase, but it's also very good for establishing the frame that you're screening her and still deciding if you like her or not and want to move forward while being playful and flirty the whole time. Now, to playfully profile her, you can simply tease or make fun of something she says or does, and say it's congruent with something that's slightly less desirable or cool. For example, if a girl tells you she goes to poetry readings, you can playfully say something like, "That's the most hipster shit I've ever heard." Then, later on, when she says something else that sounds hipstery, you can profile her again and say she's checking all the boxes of a hipster. Or, "You can't believe how much of a artsy hippie she is." Now remember, keep it playful. Don't be mean or say something super negative about her, because she'll just get offended. The word playfully is the key here. Playfully profiling her and making fun of her to further the frame of you screening her while also keeping the interaction funny and incorporating me-you communication, or better yet, we communication, is crucial to getting her to chase you and create witty banter. And that, my friends, is it. In summary, qualifying is getting the girl to invest in the conversation more and explain herself to you, while disqualifying is you playfully teasing the girl and disqualifying the fact that you're totally sold on her being a good bang buddy or girlfriend or whatever. Both are very powerful and both should be practiced. Now, the two lines I want you to go out and practice with are, "Tell me about that," which is a qualifier, and "This is never gonna work," which is a disqualifier, which you would say after she says something quirky about herself that you don't agree with. Both of these lines can be broadly used in almost any interaction, as long as you have an understanding of when to use them in the conversation. Go out into the world, my disciples, and report back to me how you do, okay? Zeus out.